Oh baby, we are live, if I can speak, on the Dynasty Roundtable. And you know what, Tyler? It's Valentine's Day, and we tried like mad to get more people on this show. It's not that you're not enough, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I
But you
get
know
it.
what I mean? Like, we tried Matt Babbage on a Valentine's Day date with his girlfriend. So, no issues there. Cody Carpet. We tried to get Cody Carpentier on the show. No luck. And Maddie Kiwoom, same story. But hey, man, we showed up for the people on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I planned my dinner plans around this show because so
Mm-hmm.
I had dinner last night so I could be on the show for today. I'm a step ahead of the game per usual, obviously, but it's dedicated to the Dynasty Roundtable and dedicated to talking top 12 Dynasty running backs. Interesting class. We were talking about it in the pre-show a little bit, but really interesting class for 2024. It's not no Bijan, no Jameer, but still a lot of guys I like that I think this class is getting a little bit too much hate. That's unwarranted in my opinion.
I agree, man. And I was gonna make a comment, but my wife would probably hear me like I would maybe say something like, "Yeah, football's more important than Valentine's Day." Like, I don't know if anybody could hear that, but I can't say it too loud because there have been episodes of this show where I've literally gotten like she's come in here on live and it's like, "You said what? You said what? What's the matter with you?" Anyway. So we want to avoid that if we can. And I'd like to stay married. So anyway, yeah, you're right though about this class. It is interesting. It's perplexing. But it's an important conversation to have, and we're about to have it right now. All right, Tyler. So let's get right into it. The 2024 rookie running back class is, polarizing or not polarizing, depending on how you look at it, depending on how you feel about it. I've seen people like all over the board. I've seen some hate, but I also talked to Matty Kiwoom today, and he told me, no, this is a good running back class. I really like this class. So where do you kind of stand with this class? Like, if you had to give it a grade, like what would you say?
I'd like to see the combine numbers first. I think the combine is the biggest event for the running back position group, especially because speed as a running back feels like it matters a lot more than it matters for like a wide receiver. Like Jarvis Landry, didn't Jarvis Landry run the slowest 40 of any receiver like ever or something like that? He had a pretty good career came into the league, dominated like with the Dolphins, goes to the Browns, does all the things, right? And it's like it just feels like the speed score is a big stat that a lot of people care about. Like, I guess if your name is Kyron Williams, then it doesn't apply to you. But mostly for everyone else, I feel like it kind of applies. But as far as this running back class as a whole, like we were saying in the open, people have been spoiled with the Jahmyr Gibbs, the Bijan, maybe like the CMC, ETN, these first round running backs. Like this class probably doesn't have a first round running back. I think it would be a surprise to most if a running back was drafted in the first round. But like Kenneth Walker, that Breece Hall, that class, they didn't have a first round running back. It was those two that both went in round two. And unlike that class too, it felt like everybody kind of knew Breece Hall was the top dog, and like Kenneth Walker was pretty much the number two behind him. This class, you might see someone's RB1 at RB1, and then you might see the same guy at like RB5. Like there's so much parity between the two. Like people have guys they like and guys they don't like, and it's a very mixed. We got some big bruiser backs, and we got some smaller like receiving like under like 6 foot back. So it's a really interesting class. To answer the original question, to give it a grade, if we're calling like last year's class, like just in terms of top tier talent, let's give it like an A minus or an A or something like that. I would say I like this class at like a B or a B plus. Like I think it's a good class. There's a lot of dudes who I think can make an impact for your team next year. Honestly, like a lot of guys who could get some goal line work. A lot of like those speed score guys. So I like this class. I think it's around a B. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in between, where Maddie is and where like the people who are like, oh my God, this is one of the worst running back classes ever. So I think I'm kind of like, if I had to grade it, probably like a B minus, C plus. Like, I know that's kind of a lame grade to give out. I know whenever I got a C plus, I was like, no, okay, whatever. Um, but yeah, I think it's true. Because I think where the value is in this running back class is, and we'll get into it. Like running, some people's running back sevens could be other people's running back like 13 or 14,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Like we were going through it today, and we're going to talk about Jalen Wright. Maddie has him as his RB2. Cody has him at RB7.
Yeah.
And just spoiler alert, right now, I thought I was, because I didn't talk to anybody. I just rank them how I see, how I call it like I see it, and I have him at RB12. So it's like, it's all over the place, man. So but as we get more information, as when we win the NFL Combine, like that's going to be huge here at the end of the month. We'll get a lot more information there. Obviously, when these guys get drafted, we'll see how NFL teams value them, and that's really when these rankings are going to be solidified. But right now, we're giving you an early bird view of the kind of the running back prospects that we like. And why don't we just jump right into it? And I'm gonna, we're gonna use technology here, Tyler.
Okay,
So
let's do it.
whenever we use technology, it's always all right. So how does that look?
I like it. Maybe you
Okay.
could zoom in a little bit too, probably, right?
Yeah, here, we'll shift this there, and I'll zoom in. But this is, so as not to give anything away.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit better. So I have these blacked out, but these are our top 12. Tyler and I ranked these. Tyler did the top 10. I did the top 12. So I went a little bit further. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal like our first three right now, and then we'll talk about them. So we have agreement at 1 and 2. That's amazing, actually, because
Yeah, that is crazy.
some people's RB1 is a little like, it's all over the place. Some people have Braelon Allen at 1. Some people have I've seen Jonathan Brooks at 1 for some people. So talk to me about Trey Benson, and then I'll also talk about him when you're done, as far as like why he's my RB1 in the class.
I just Trey Benson's film. So like most of the stuff I've looked at, I'm kind of just looking at preliminary stats, just rushing yards, productivity. When the productivity came is a big one too. I mean, Trey Benson was at Oregon, comes over to Florida State, and the 2 years he's at Florida State, the dude dominated. And you could argue he's in a really good offense, but I mean, because they have Jordan Travis, they have Keon Coleman, like they have Gene Bell, who's going to get drafted probably on the tight end. So Trey Benson, when I watch him, it seemed like every single time he touched the ball, like his highlight tape is just littered with 60-yard touchdown runs, 70-yard touchdown runs, 40-yard touchdown runs. Like this guy he's a home run hitter. He finishes his runs by getting in the end zone. I think it's the biggest thing I liked about him. His speed, it stands out on the film. His size stands out. Like I said, that size speed score. Like I think he will probably run like the low 4.4s or maybe even like the 4.3s. Like that's how fast this guy is. And for considering how big he is, like that shouldn't even be possible. So I like him for that fact alone. I mean, size, like he's just a better athlete than probably most of the other running backs in this class. So I think that's why I have him at RB1.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you're talking about. I mean, we're talking about like, and some of the measurements like are up in the air. Like I'm looking at Trey Benson on our side, it's like 4.48, and then on other sites it's like 4.37.
Yeah.
So the NFL Combine is going to be like the definitive number. So until we get that, like it's kind of going to be all over the place. But nevertheless, he's going to run somewhere in between like a mid 4.3, like a 4.35 or a 4.4, probably like in between that and a 4.45, somewhere in there, if I had to guess. He's fast for that size. That's unbelievably fast. 6'1", 215, 223. So like he's one of the only running backs in this class with that size and speed combination, and he was productive enough. I know some people were disappointed with his last year, his production, but I think the production in college is just fine. Back-to-back years with over 900 rushing yards. Like he's proven that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's kind of like unlike any running back in this class. I think he's got great size, great speed, like we talked about, and breakaway speed. Like the breakaway speed that you talked about is evident on tape. And he also shows, I think, good vision and good patience. And like what I look for is just he just looks so smooth on tape to me. Like he just looks like it's effortless at times, and he can change directions. And he's also not afraid to just take what's blocked. And the only issue I have with Trey Benson is that he's not the greatest in pass protection, but I think that's a skill he can develop because he's a bigger running back. And at the end of the day, I think Benson's probably a day 2 pick, like maybe mid second, early third, somewhere in there. If I had to guess, it's really early, but just based on his natural ability, I think that's why I have Trey Benson ranked as high as I do. So yeah, I really like him, and I think he's. I would be a way surprised if he was not a day 2 pick.
Yeah. So same goes for me.
All right, I'll lead it off with Blake Corum because I have Blake Corum at 2, and Blake Corum, he's slightly undersized, at least with his height. He's 5'8". And I've seen him listed at anywhere from 200 to 213 pounds. My guess he's probably closer to like 210. And it's going to be interesting to see what his official numbers are at the combine. I feel like we keep saying that, but it's true. But Corum was very productive, and I like some people are going to poo-poo this, but he could have came out last year, but he wanted to go back to Michigan to finish what they started there and to get the national championship. Sign stealing aside, like that team was amazing, that Michigan team. So in college, like he played all 4 years at Michigan. And in 2021, as a sophomore, Corum ran for 949 yards. He's had back-to-back seasons with over 1,100 rushing yards. And his most productive year, like I like it when players break out, like either sophomore or junior year. And he broke out his junior year with 1,463 yards on 247 carries. And on the tape, like when you turn it on, he's extremely shifty and displays an ability to make quick cuts inside the tackles. And he ran that power, that pro scheme. So I have no issues. Like if he goes like, with some other running backs, you wonder, is it going to be an adjustment for you to take a handoff like when the quarterback's under center because you're so used to getting it just in the zone? But that's not going to be a problem for him. And although his receiving production culminated in his sophomore year, like he had 24 catches, and that was as good as it got with his receiving. He looks like a natural pass catcher out of the backfield, and he looks like he's a really good running, like just good speed, like overall just a solid running back, and just to me is going to be a safe pick in your rookie drafts. And he's going to be somewhat landing spot dependent, as is everybody, but I feel pretty safe putting him at number 2 here. What do you think, man?
Yeah, obviously, I love me some Blake Corum. I put him at 2 as well. The big thing for me is you mentioned it. He could have came out last year, and I remember looking at mock drafts last year, and people were kind of putting him at like that end of the first round kind of area, and that was last year where we had all the talent. We had Bijan, we had Jameer, we had all the receivers. Like there was a lot of people putting him like kind of in like that 8 to 12 range last year, which I think we can all agree was a pretty good class. So the other thing too, like. He put up a ton of numbers like that. His junior season, he was like in running for the Heisman, and then he tears his ACL, and those dreams are squashed. But like this is like a Heisman level type running back, and I think he's going to be even better a year removed from the ACL because this was his year coming back from the ACL. So he's probably going to be even more explosive than he was this year. And I thought he looked really good this year. Leads him to a national championship. Like that team ran through the running game, and obviously Donovan Edwards was heavily involved as well, but it was pretty much Blake Corum's backfield. He's the reason that people have questions about JJ McCarthy because they didn't want to unleash JJ McCarthy because they had this Blake Corum guy. So I'm really in on Blake Corum. I think he's, like you said, just kind of a smooth, solid runner. Kind of just does like everything well. Like doesn't really have like one like specific play style. He's not Trey Benson. He's just like a different kind of runner, but productive nonetheless.
Couldn't agree more. So we are in lockstep with 1-2. Now we get a little different here. You have Jonathan Brooks at 5. I have him at 3. Do you want to talk about your Jonathan Brooks ranking?
Yeah, I remember I mentioned it on the mock draft live that we did a couple nights ago, but like there's a lot of people who have Jonathan Brooks as their RB1. I've seen it on Twitter, and I went into kind of just looking at his film, looking at the numbers. I really wanted to be optimistic, and I was like, I'm going to give this guy a fair chance. And I look at the film and like, there's just nothing that really stands like out for me. Like he doesn't have the Trey Benson speed or the Corum numbers. Like it's just kind of like he's good. I think he's a good back, but I don't think he's my RB1. There's just some guys that I think have a little bit more juice, a little bit more pop than Jonathan Brooks. Also coming off an ACL, I think you have to consider that when it comes to a dynasty perspective. Like this guy might not be the 100% player that he was last year at Texas in 2024 in the NFL. So I think that factored into my rankings as well. But like I said, and he also played with like just a absurd offense at Texas. Like you got how many draft guys we got? Well, Quinn Ewers is going to be a guy coming out next year. Obviously, he could be a first round pick easily. You got Adonai Mitchell, you got Xavier Worthy, you got Jatavion Sanders, like a ton of pieces you had to account for in Texas. And I think he may have just benefited and it's not really to knock him. It's a kind of unfair knock, but it did kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, well, they had defenses probably had so much to worry about with all these other weapons. I think just like, it just made me like, I don't know, just it didn't sit well with me. So I put him at 5. It's not a bad ranking. I don't think he's a bad player. There's just some guys that I like more than him.
That's fair. I think he's one of these, another, like, it's kind of in the Trey Benson like realm. Like he's a little bit smaller than Benson. He's closer to 200 pounds than he is 220. He's about 202, 207. So I'd like him to be if he was in between 210 and 215, like that's the sweet spot for a running back. But it's not the end all be all. You know, running backs like, well, Devon Achane proved that last year. Like you can be a super effective running back. Now Achane needs to be able to prove that he can stay on the field, and I think he's going to get a running back partner to help him. Whether they, anyway. So I think that's going to be good for him. But getting back to Brooks, you're right. That Texas offense was really, really good, but Brooks was, until he tore his ACL, he was playing really well, and he only has 1 year of college production, but that's really easily explainable because of Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. That they were there the year before, and that they both got drafted. I mean, Roschon was almost a day 2 pick, probably should have been a day 2 pick, if you ask me. And the Bears took him in the 4th round. So how would you like to compete with those two guys? But in 2023, before he got injured, he rushed for 1,139 yards, caught 25 passes, 286 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns. And on tape, he shows patience as a runner, and he allows the blocks to be set up for him, and he possesses enough burst to get through the hole. Sometimes I think he's just a little bit too patient and doesn't take what's blocked. But overall, I think the patience is a good thing. Additionally, he's good in the receiving game, and I think he's got good vision, patience, like I said, ability to hit open running lanes, and he's got the speed. That I would probably have Brooks ranked higher if not for the ACL. It does worry me a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see where he ends up, because it's like Brooks, out of every one of these running backs, I want to see what he does at the like it can't, like, what's his recovery time? I honestly don't know, because I think it was in November.
I was to say it was a little later in the season.
So I don't know. I don't even know if we're gonna get if he'll be ready for the combine. We'll see. I know, like, people make like miraculous recoveries from ACL tears these days, but it's gonna be so fascinating to see how the NFL values him, because if it had not been for that injury, it kind of reminds me of Rachaad White a little bit, just a little bit. Maybe not as good in the passing game as Rachaad White is, but just as a runner, like, he kind of gives me those vibes. So I'll go ahead and reveal the next 3, and so the audience will be able to see our top 6. So we go Bucky Irving, Braelon Allen, and then you have Ray Davis at number 3, which I like Ray Davis just as much as the next guy, but Tyler Knaeble really likes Ray Davis. So talk to me about Ray Davis.
Oh, I'm glad I get to do the Ray Davis breakdown. I watched this guy's highlights again today. I think I watch there's two highlight videos I like by him, and I think I watch one of them at least like every 3 days. I cannot stop watching it. Like I am in. This will be the hill that I die on. He is now my most drafted player in 2024 best ball. I got like 48%. So like half my teams, I make it a point to draft this guy. He's also like a 16th, 14th, or something round pick. I can't remember exactly, but that's something here nor there. I'm not here to talk about 2024 best ball, but this I just you turn on the tape, and this is the biggest. I'm seeing it with my eyes. He looks like the best player on the field. I wish I could rank. I would have ranked him higher than 3. I wish I could rank him 1. I really want. I am going to lead the charge for the Ray Davis like fan club. I am the number 1 fan. I will lead the charge. Get on my back, and I will lead us to the promised land, because you look at just the productivity. Everyone likes to talk about early breakout age, all that kind of stuff. Early declare. He wasn't an early declarer, but he rushes. He had 1,000 total yards at Temple his freshman season. So as a freshman at Temple, 1,000 total yards. Transferred to Vandy, 1,000+ yard season there. Then this past season at Kentucky is where he really broke out. 1,400 plus total yards in his senior season at Kentucky. You go watch, just turn on the Florida game. That's the only game. If you're going to watch any Ray Davis game, turn on the Florida game. He takes over the game. Even the announcers in the game are like, they can't stop him. It's the Ray Davis show. Like I think it was a game earlier in the season. They're like, let's put this guy in the Heisman, like as a Heisman candidate right now. Like that's like early in the season in that game. Like that's how much he dominated. I cannot get enough of this guy. His size profile is pretty good too. 5'10" to around 215 pounds ish, and he has unbelievable speed. He probably is going to run again in that kind of 4.4s area. I don't think he's quite as fast as Trey Benson, but it's probably pretty close. So I think he runs in the 4.4s without a doubt, just watching him on tape. And he likes contact. He can make people miss. And my favorite thing about him is the vision. I put a tweet out yesterday. There's an absurd, just a screenshot. It's a goal line carry, and I put on the screenshot. Do you think Ray Davis scores on this play? And it's like a ton of guys. It looks like he's about to get tackled for a loss because he gets pressure up the middle, and it's an ISO blocking scheme. Fullback goes to the left, and I gave 1, 2, and 3. Which lane do you think, if he scores it, like which lane do you think he goes in? And 1 is like the most absurd lane because he's not even close to that area. But it's like his vision to see that cutback lane is, you either have that skill or you don't. And Ray Davis has it, and I might as well make a fan page account, Ray Davis fan page, because like I don't think there's anything that this guy doesn't do. Maybe he's not the best pass catcher in the world, but he still catches passes. Like I cannot get enough of Ray Davis. Just go watch the highlights, turn on the tape, and I promise you will feel the same.
Oh, I think he's just a fine pass. I think he got better as a pass catcher. I mean, just looking at the tape, and then you like, because what I like is when you watch something on film and then you go to the stats and you find tendencies in the stats that match what you're seeing on film. It kind of backs up what you're seeing, because Ray Davis like caught 29 passes in 2022 and 2023, but he had almost 150 more receiving yards. He was way more efficient as a pass catcher this year. And the one thing, Tyler, that you didn't talk about, that everybody's going to talk about, and Joel's talking about it in the chat, Ray Davis sounds like a 40-year-old, and he's 24 years old. He'll be a 24-year-old. So what the too easy criticism of Ray Davis is going to be is why did he break out at age 23 and 24? Like that's gonna be something he's gonna have to overcome in the dynasty community. But I agree with most of what you're saying. I think when you watch him play, he looks really good. Like my write up is I think he's got good vision, sudden burst. He's got speed, like you mentioned, maybe not as fast as a Trey Benson type, but he's fast enough. And like I said, all running backs need to get better in pass protection, and I think he's one of them. But I'm really bullish on Ray Davis. Not as bullish as you, but I don't know. I could be talked into moving him up a few spots maybe. But I wanted to talk to you about Braelon Allen, because Braelon Allen is somebody that I'm very nervous about. And other people don't seem to share my concern. Some people have Braelon Allen as the RB1 in the class. And I just cannot get there because, well, yes, he's a beast. He's 6'2, 245 pounds. And I don't believe, I've seen it out there, but I don't believe it. Some people think he runs a 4.4 40. I'll believe it when I see it. The NFL Combine is going to show us the truth on that one. I think it's probably closer to a 4.5, which is fine, which is totally fine for somebody of his build. And the college production's outstanding, especially at the breakout age. I'm sure the breakout finder is going to think Braelon Allen's probably the best running back in this class if I had to guess. But on tape, he doesn't appear to have breakaway speed as a runner. It's not fair of me to characterize him as a plotter, but he isn't going to fool anybody by running outside the tackles. They mostly used him as an inside the tackles runner, and he definitely uses his size to his advantage. And I didn't really see much elusiveness. He does hit the hole hard. He runs hard. He's a tough player. He went to Wisconsin. I can't take that away from him. It's the size and the profile is intriguing, but I remember feeling this certain way about a running back from Boston College named AJ Dillon. And that's kind of who he reminds me of. So while I am intrigued by Braelon Allen, and I don't want to take away from the sycophants out there who really like him, I just want to temper people's expectations. I have him at 4. You're a little less, you're even more skeptical than I am. You have him at 6. What are your thoughts on Braelon Allen?
I was gonna say, the way you were describing it sounds like he should be closer to 6 for you than 4. Like, it sounds like you're not sold at all.
Yeah, probably.
I have him at 6. You have him at 4.
That's probably right. I mean, I probably do have him too high. Just now that I'm talking about it, like, and these rankings are going to be a process, right? This is like a first draft that we went back and forth on. So we'll have a more definitive look at it like after the combine, and in middle of March, I'll feel pretty good about my dynasty rookie rankings. But yeah, you're probably right. I probably should have them a little bit lower for all those reasons. But anyway, tell me about Braelon Allen.
So I've seen this guy play live. I promise you, I will pay somebody's dynasty league fees if he runs he's not running a 4.5 or anywhere. Like, that's just not what he's going to do. If you look at it on film, I've seen it. Like I said, seen it in person. He's not going to run that. I promise you. So I think that he just does one thing probably at the best level in this draft, and that's running in between the tackles. Like, if you're looking to get just chunks, like you're looking for a 4-yard per carry guy, a guy who's going to be good on the goal line, like, then Braelon Allen's a great player. The only problem is, like, that's kind of what he's limited to. He's not this outside runner. Like, he's not one of these next Wisconsin great running backs. He's not going to be Jonathan Taylor. He's not going to be prime Melvin Gordon. Like, that's just not his game. He doesn't have the speed of those guys nor the elusiveness. Like, I think you kind of said, like, he doesn't really make people miss an open field. I really like actually kind of like his short area quickness, like in the hole, like in like inside zone or gap schemes. I think he's really good at finding the holes. He has great vision, and he's a very patient runner. It's kind of what I saw too. Like, he's kind of like a little light on his feet when he's like dancing in the hole. Like, he always kind of just seems to slither through, which is something I think he's the best at, running in between the tackles in this draft. That being said, that's all he does. He's not an outside zone runner. He's going to probably struggle to get to the edge of the next level. And if he does break one up the gap, I don't think he's going to outrun these NFL track stars we have in the league now. So I think he's kind of limited to, like, it's for his final ranking for me is going to be what he runs in the 40. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near, like, I don't think it's going to be in the 4.4s. I just don't. But the landing spot, like, that he has to go to a team that wants to, like, establish the run. Like, I know that, like, a team like Pittsburgh or like with Arthur Smith, like, I could see him on that team. He could kind of be like Tyler Algier, but like, obviously they have Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. I don't think that's going to happen, but like, there's not that many, like, we're going to run the ball down your throat ball clubs anymore. Like, 15 years ago, this guy probably would have gone in the first round. Today, I don't see how he is, like, he's not a 3-down back. He's never going to be a 3-down back. Like, that's just not his his game. But I think one of the reasons why people have him as RB1 is he's like 16 years old in the league. He's not actually 16. I think he's to be 20 years old when he plays his first game in the NFL, which is it's a crazy because his freshman season he was 17 at college, which is just nuts. But like I think that's why kind of people like him. But like let's actually figure out if he's good before we start worrying about how long can he sustain whatever. Like yeah, he broke out in early age. He's an early declare, but I don't think that means he's going to be the next Wisconsin great running back. So I like him. I think it totally depends what team he goes to. Then I'm a little bit more open, but he's not going to be this 3-down workhorse guy. It's just not his game.
Yeah, and when I'm looking for, and we have to take a little bit different angle on this. Like right now we're ranking them as like how good are they going to be for your fantasy team?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's a good pass catcher either. I think you're right. I think he does one thing really well, and I don't know how that translates. He kind of reminds me of Jordan Howard a little bit.
That was the comp that I've been seeing
like
around for him a little bit. Yeah.
That old Bears running back that just when he was in the game, you knew what was going to happen. Like he was just going to run in between the tackles. He wasn't a great pass catcher, couldn't really beat anybody on the edge. And to me, that's a very limited player who's going to be happy. Like he's going to have to match. He's going to have to mix up with somebody like a Keaton Mitchell. Like if the Ravens took him,
yes, that's a great landing spot.
That might be perfect for him because they'll use him in between the tackles. Like that'll be fine. And maybe maybe that'll work out. But I just don't see many outs for him as a player, But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Bucky Irving's the last guy here. You have him at 4. I have him at 5. Pretty much agreement there. Just real quick on Bucky Irving. He's a little bit undersized, but he played at the University of Oregon. 5'10", about 200 pounds, 195 pounds, somewhere in there. And what intrigues me most about him is his potential role in the NFL. He feels like one of these new age running backs. Now he's not as electric as Devon Achane. He's not that fast. I think he runs like a 4.48. I think I'd have to double check that. Like that's what's on record. But again, the NFL Combine is going to tell us more. But he's an effective pass catcher. He got 53 passes his junior season. And he's, like I said, he's got good speed. And I think he can be a nice little player in the NFL. And I like the way he runs too. The downside is I wonder, like my biggest concern about Bucky Irving is he fast enough for that lack of size to be effective at the NFL level? And I think he can be. I'm a little bit more sure about Bucky Irving than I am about Braelon Allen. But what are your thoughts on Bucky Irving?
I'm a little biased. Obviously, I'm a huge Minnesota Gophers fan. He went to the Gophers his freshman season and then transferred because Mo Ibrahim didn't transfer and he was like the number 1 guy there. That's not neither here nor there, but he actually did play a little bit as freshman. He had 700 yards as a freshman at Minnesota. Like that's pretty good as a freshman. And then he transfers to Oregon and then he has back-to-back 1,300 yard season total yards. His sophomore season as a junior, he has over, what is the math on that? 1,600 yards. Like, and you said it, 56 catches in college as a running back is a really, really, really good stat. This guy is going to be on the field in third downs, and he's, like you said, he doesn't have the speed of Achane, but he has, I think, more like he's more quick twitch. He's going to make more people miss than I think Achane. Achane's more like flatline speed, not as much like make you miss in open space. Bucky Irving's he's Tajay Spears. Like that's what he is. Like he's a shorter guy. He's not going to really be a third down workhorse, but he is going to be a guy that he's like, when he touches the ball, his probably have a high efficiency number. He's going to get a lot of yards per carry, a lot of yards per reception. Like that's just kind of his game. He's more of an efficient guy than going to be like a 3-down workhorse type guy. But I think he can kind of be that Tajay Spears role. And like Tajay Spears is a guy that a lot of people love in Dynasty, love in redraft right now. So I think that's kind of exactly what his game is going to be. Tajay Spears doesn't have like the 4.3 speed or anything for his size, but he's a guy that everyone loves right now. So I think that's kind of what I see Bucky Irving as in this class.
Nice. So I'll go ahead and reveal the next 3. Or wait, actually, before I do that, we should take a quick break. We should do informative segment. That's what we call them on the Dynasty Roundtable. Informative segment. So this informative segment is going to be about Sleeper. And actually, no, Dynasty Dominator. Dynasty Dominator is going to be the informative segment. So stick with us, though. We will reveal 6 through 10 after this from the Podfather.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
Go get the Dynasty Dominator and be ready to upload the 2024 class. Like he said, it's $5 every year to upload the class, but it is well worth it because, like you said, there's all kinds of tools and strategy resources within that app. So go check that out today. Also, stay tuned for the Trade God Show, which is directly after this at 8 p.m. Central Time. They're going to be talking about the Dynasty buys that they're going to their favorite Dynasty buys, I believe. So be on the lookout for that. And also check out the Dynasty Warzone. We have you covered all over with Dynasty. Dynasty Warzone, 8 p.m. Sunday. Memphis and Jerry have you covered there. So I just revealed our next three. So that would be Audric Estime, Marshawn Lloyd, and Dylan Lobb. Now, you don't have Dylan Lobb ranked within your top 10, so it's fair to say that this would be lower than 9. But I left it blank. Like, do you have a number I could throw in here real quick? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. I actually have him on the show sheet. We had the sleepers, right? And I had him as one of my sleepers on my list. So I actually do like him. So I would say put him at like 11. We'll put him just outside the top 10.
All right. I don't know if that's going to affect his rank. We'll have maybe we'll have to switch it, but that's okay. But I have Estime at 6. You have him at 7. We're pretty much in lockstep. And then Lloyd, same deal.
Yeah.
I'll just kick it off with Estime. I'm scared. Like, I like Estime a lot, and I'm tempted to rank him ahead of, and maybe I should after talking it out with you. Maybe I should rank him. I literally have him on my sheet. Is he better than Braelon Allen? Because I think he might be. He's a very productive running back, just like Braelon Allen. His best season was his junior year. He rushed for over 1,300 yards on 210 carries, caught 17 passes for 142 yards rather, and scored a whopping 18 touchdowns. And he's also a younger prospect. He's also going to be 20 years old. You see the parallels here between the two?
They're very similar players.
He's also a bigger running back at 6 foot, 227 pounds. But he has a 4.48 on his record as a 40-yard dash. So he's got a little bit of breakaway speed. We'll see like if that's just the quick thumb guy at Notre Dame, with the quick thumb. We'll see. But on tape, I'm willing to buy it. He does have some developing to do. He's just 20 years old, but Estime's got a lot of talent. And like I said, the NFL Combine, I keep saying it. We're gonna find out a lot. But he specializes at running in between the tackles, just like Allen. But he's deceptively fast and he's a lot. To me, he's shiftier and is a little bit more elusive in the open field, and he's a better pass catcher. And what surprised me most on tape was the breakaway speed. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not blazing fast or anything, but he's a lot faster than somebody that his size should be. And Estime is going to play a role in the red zone because he's got a nose for the end zone with that size, and he has good vision, and he can hit the hole. I really like him. I really liked what I saw on tape, and I probably should honestly move him up a little bit higher. But what do you think about Estime?
I like Estime's tape too, where you kind of said how he's more of an in between the tackles runner, like Braelon Allen. But the difference is like when Estime gets to that next level, he can break away a little bit more than Allen. Like Allen's not really a one cut runner. He's really good between the tackles, but he's more of a I'm gonna find the hole, get 10, 12 yards and something like that. But Estime is more like a one cut guy. Like he's gonna make a cut and then he's going to use his power to either run you over or kind of like his deceptive speed. He's going to run past some people. So, and like you said, at his size, he's around like 230, 225, something like that. He's a big back. And I feel like his comp, I don't want to say he's David Montgomery, but like that kind of feels like his play style a little bit. Like David Montgomery, maybe David Montgomery's a little more shifty than Estime, but they feel like kind of similar builds, bigger guys. They're not pass catchers, but they can catch the ball. So I do like Estime. I really struggle between Allen and Estime. I honestly almost just ended up putting like them as a tie. That's why because I think I have them at 6 and 7. So I didn't really want to do that, like make it harder for you. So I just did 6 and 7, just kind of left it up whatever. But I do really like Estime. I could definitely like if someone's gonna put Estime over Braelon Allen, I'm not gonna say no. I think they're neck and neck for me because they're two very similar players, just slightly different play styles. So I'm kind of in on Estime a little bit, yeah.
Do you wanna talk about Dylan Lobb or Marshawn Lloyd?
Ooh, give me Dylan Lobb. Actually,
right.
yeah, give me Dylan Lobb. Yeah.
Go
so
for it.
yes, let me open up my notes. Here we go. So he like this. I think the biggest thing with him is like he's listed at running back, but if you look at his receiving numbers, you could have swore he's a wide receiver. This dude had 49 catches his junior season, 68 this past season at New Hampshire, and he just feels like he's going to be one of these gadget players. It just feels like he's going to be like Danny Woodhead or Tariq Cohen, like Chris Thompson. Remember Chris Thompson that one season? Chris Thompson had a great like that 1 year stretch in Washington. Like that's just kind of what he feels like. He's going to be a mismatch nightmare for if he gets on a linebacker in the slot, that's where he could definitely line up. If he gets on a linebacker in the slot, he's going to win. Even probably like a bigger safety, he's probably going to beat them too. Like this guy is so good in the passing game. He might be able to even beat like a slot corner. Like he could be just a mismatch nightmare. I really want to see what team I think drafts him too. But obviously the biggest knock on him is the competition of play he was going against. I mean, he's at New Hampshire. They're not really playing anybody. But I don't know. I really like is it Lob or Lobby? Do we know how to pronounce his name? This feels like Achon last year.
I feel Matty Kiwoom. I know this could be the Devon A-chain of names.
Yeah.
I feel like Matty Kiwoom said Lob, so I'm gonna go with Matty Kiwoom because Matty Kiwoom's been on him since the process began. So
got it. Yeah. No, I think I like him. Like I'm in on him to a certain extent, but the size profile is not there. Like he's only let's see here. He's only 5'10", like 207, and like it doesn't feel like he's like the most athletic guy on the field. Like he's a really crafty, shifty player, but I just don't think he's like the most athletic dude on the field, like even at New Hampshire. But I don't know. I'm in on him to a certain extent. I love the pass catching stuff, but it's not like he's going to be a 3-down workhorse. Like he doesn't have that potential to be a 3-down workhorse or anything like that for fantasy purposes. I think his role is going to be semi-limited.
Yeah, I think I mean that we were talking about it today. It's interesting comparing him, and I have him ranked higher than Will Shipley. But Will Shipley, like and him, are kind of similar players in that sense. Like they're both kind of receiving backs. Will Shipley, I feel like really struggled in pass protection. So I feel like his future is more of a third down running back in the NFL. I just feel like that's what his role is going to be. And I could see the same thing for Lobb. But the thing with Lobb is like New Hampshire had him returning kicks, punts. He played in the slot at the Senior Bowl. So as a receiver, is he going to be just a third down running back, or is a team going to view him as a weapon that they can utilize, like a cross between like a Danny Woodhead, Julian Edelman, was a quarterback, but he's just an athlete, and we can use him as a wide receiver. Now he's not going to be a wide receiver. Like that's not going to be his official position. Like he's going to be a running back, but he is one of the more intriguing players because when you watch the tape, you want to see somebody from New Hampshire dominate, and he dominated. Like he dominated. And the only game I think he played in a D1 against a D1 team was he played Central Michigan, and I think he had 229. It was either receiving yards or all-purpose yards. I can't remember, but it was something crazy. So I like Dylan Lobb a lot. Marshawn Lloyd had a really good Senior Bowl, and that propelled him up my rankings. And Marshawn Lloyd's one of those more prototypical running backs. I mean, he's 5'9", 210, 217, depending on where you look. His most productive season did come during his senior season, which is, concerning. 820 yards, caught 13 passes for 232 yards. So he's really efficient in the passing game. But I do like some of his attributes. I like how he runs in between the tackles. I think he displays good burst, hits the holes on time. He also does a nice job of setting up his blockers. Occasionally he'll run into a defender because he's just like kind of a bat out of hell, like tough, physical. But I like his game overall. And I think, we'll find out more information as the process goes on, but I like Marshawn Lloyd a lot. And these running backs that we're getting into, like this territory, I feel like, and we keep saying it, but you're going to want to load up on 3rd and 4th round picks in your rookie draft. If you can liquidate some players, maybe get out of some of these veterans because some of these running backs are just going to hit. Like Marshawn Lloyd could hit, like if he winds up in the right landing spot, right system, I could see it. Same thing with a guy that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the sleepers if we get there. The kid from Marshall, I can't remember his name, but I have it on my sheet here and my computer's freezing. So anyway. So yeah,
let me give my little spiel about Lloyd then real quick.
Go ahead.
So he's like one of like those things where I love the tape. The stats, like he didn't really have a crazy good year. He barely cracked 1,000 total yards at USC at 820 rushing yards and 232 passing yards. But you also got to remember that's a passing offense with Lincoln Riley, with Caleb Williams. He only had 116 carries. So really not that 116 carries in 2023, 2022, 111, 64 his freshman season. Like not a lot of tread on the tires for this guy, which is good when you're considering running back a little bit. This is kind of like a tiebreaker scenario there, but he averaged 7.1 yards a carry at USC, like an absurd number. Again, there's probably a lot of holes opened up for him considering he's playing with Caleb Williams and they have all those weapons and all that. But I love like when you look at the highlights there, he has just great kind of feel for the position. He's really athletic, and I think he's a guy, like you said, he's probably going to be probably a day 3 pick. He's probably not going to go in day 2, but depending on the landing spot, like this could be one of those like a Kyron Williams situation. Maybe you may have to wait a year or so, but like he could just be one of these late round running backs that hits for your dynasty team. And like I don't think anybody in the community would be shocked if Marshawn Lloyd was like getting drafted in the 5th round, like if for 2025 draft or something like that. He could just hit in a big way because I think he has the size profile, he has the speed, like he has the tools. It's just whether or not he's going to put it all together in the NFL.
Very well said. I will move on and reveal our last 4 players because you have Cody Schrader ranked in your top 10. I have him ranked at 15. I have Dylan Johnson ranked at 10. You didn't have him ranked inside your top 10. Will Shipley, I have at 11. Jalen Wright, you have him at 9. I have him at 12. So pick one of these 4. Do you want to lead it off with Jalen Wright or Cody Schrader? Or
let me go Cody Schrader because he's actually one of the dudes I had kind of in the sleeper thing too, which we may not get to. So I'll just give my spiel on Cody Schrader right now. I feel like it's a sleeper because like no one's really talking about Cody Schrader. He's going undrafted in best ball drafts right now, so I consider that a semi sleeper. But for a guy who like not that many people are familiar with, he led the SEC in rushing this year. Like in the SEC, like that's kind of a big deal. He had where do I have it here? He had 1,600 plus rushing yards this season. He's 5'9", 214, good size, not elite size, but good size. 5.9 yards per carry, 22 catches for 191 yards. I watched his film a little bit today, just a couple of clips, but he looks like he's kind of like a poor man's Trey Benson kind of thing. Like that's kind of the best way I can describe it. Good size, decent speed. Doesn't have that home run hitting ability that Trey Benson has, but you don't just get 1,600 yards in the SEC for no reason. I knew he was pretty much Mizzou's team, or I meant not pretty. I know they have some good receivers that are coming out next year, but he was a big part of that team, and why Mizzou was like kind of a frisky SEC team this year. So just on that stat alone, I had to put him in the top 10.
Yeah, there's no doubt he does some nice things. He's a little bit undersized, like 5'8", about 205, somewhere in there is like where he's probably going to weigh in at. And there's no doubt he did some really nice things for Missouri. He's a senior, scored 14 touchdowns, I think, or am I now? Yeah, 14 rushing touchdowns. And yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I have him at 15, so he's just outside my top 12. So yeah, I again, he's one of these people that who knows? I mean, throughout the process, he might jump into the top 12, but again, it's just we'll see how this process goes as we continue to watch more tape, dig into the numbers, and Cody Schrader is one of those guys. One of those guys that's very polarizing is Jalen Wright, and he's not even in the sleeper rankings, which is a travesty. They need to get him in there because we did a mock draft live and we couldn't draft Jalen Wright, but he's Matty Kiwoom's RB2, and he's Cody Carpentier's RB7, and he's my RB12. And really, when I was watching him, I mean, he's got the size, he's got the speed. He could run in the 4.3s. I mean, he's 5'11", 210 pounds. Like, he's almost a perfect sized running back. And his best season, junior season, 1,000 yards on just 137 carries, which is ridiculous. He caught 22 passes, 141 receiving yards. And if you squint hard enough, if you look, I see Kenneth Walker. There's just he's got the breakaway speed. The one thing that concerns me is Tennessee, every single play that Jalen Wright ran felt like it was out of the shotgun in a RB zone read. Just felt like that's what it was with Joe Milton at quarterback. Maybe sometimes the guards pulled, but it just struck me as a funky offense. So I don't know. Let's just say the Rams draft him, which would be amazing, right? If the Rams drafted him. How's he going to do when Matthew Stafford's behind center shouting pass protection, at him?
Yeah.
How's he going to do on his first stretch play, on his first toss? Because I saw a lot of him just taking the handoff in the shotgun. And to be fair, there's a lot of running backs that they run primarily in the shotgun, right? But it was really apparent at Tennessee. So that's my one concern. It's almost like, is this too good to be true? Jalen Wright, is it too good to be true? Maddie is very, very high at RB2. I'm very hesitant. I'm more conservative. What say you? You have him at 9, so you're kind of more on my side of the fence. So what do you think about Jalen Wright? Because to me, he could be the guy that some people just freak out about.
Yeah, that's Matty. The way Matty Kiwoom likes Jalen Wright is the way I like Ray Davis. Just absurdly ranking him high. Just it doesn't matter what you say. We're gonna ride for our guys. So I respect that for Matty. But Jalen Wright, I kind of see him the same way I see Marshawn Lloyd. It's why I have them ranked 8 and 9. It's kind of like I said with Braelon Allen and Estime. They both very similar builds, like the stuff that I see on film. But like you said, we'll see. This Tennessee offense, just notorious, the way they win football games in Tennessee. Maybe not so much this year, but the way their offense is built, you don't really know what's real. Hendon Hooker, biggest thing when he was coming out. This isn't, like everyone said, this isn't a real offense. It's just not real. Yeah. Because they spread you out. They're gonna go five wide for the most part, and it's bombs away. bombs away. Maybe they'll throw on the occasional run here and there. But considering the offense that he's in, it's kind of impressive that he ran for 1,000 yards. Like you said, only 137 carries, 7.4 yards per carry. So there's definitely things to like about it. But like, let's see it like in like you said, he has good speed. But like in that offense, that's kind of all you need when you're running from the backfield. You're doing kind of shotgun halfback sweeps kind of thing, or outside zone from a shotgun. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see how it translates to the next level. It's I think he's deserving of the top 10, but like I said, kind of with Marshawn Lloyd. But I like Jalen Wright. There's nothing, not really anything bad I could say against him. I just like let's see where he lands. Let's see the combine numbers. Let's see all that before I'm going to move him up anymore. So.
All right. I do have to say Dylan Johnson is one of Cody's favorite players. And I like the one knock I have on Dylan Johnson. I like Dylan Johnson a lot. Obviously, he's in my top 10. But he his vision at times is not the greatest. So he's going to have to improve there. At least that's what I saw on tape. So and Will Shipley, we kind of talked about Will Shipley as well. But that's kind of our top 12 or my top 12, Tyler's top 10. Tyler, we're approaching an hour and we want to get off in time for the trade gods. Maybe we can run a little bit over, but why don't you give me one sleeper not named Cody Schrader?
So when we do the sleeper, I have one wide receiver. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean,
right, cool.
Yeah.
I won't say Malachi Corley.
He's not a sleeper. He's not a sleeper.
Exactly. So yeah. I won't say Malachi Corley. The guy that I have, Malik Washington, receiver coming out of Virginia. Saw a crazy stat that I had to look it up and see if it was real. There have been 4 wide receivers in the Power 5 conferences to have a 110 plus catch season and a 1,400 plus yard season. Power 5 conference coming out of Virginia. The 4 receivers who have done it in the past 10 years: Amari Cooper, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith, and you guessed it, Malik Washington. Like that alone should just tell you. Like Virginia, like he's their entire offense. Virginia doesn't have not a lot of good things going for Virginia. I mean, they're not a bad team, but like they're not sneaking into the college football playoff anytime soon. So I just think on that alone, you watch the tape, he's just kind of like he's just a football player. He's not going to wow you with his speed. He's not going to wow you with his size. He is just really good at football. And it's kind of like the argument for like Tank Dell. Like when Tank Dell was coming out, they're not the same size profile, but like the one thing you knew about Tank Dell was that he was really good at football. He had I think he led the nation in like red zone touchdowns at that size. That tells you he's a really good route runner. And it just kind of feels like Malik Washington is that similar type of situation. Like you're not wowed by the speed, you're not wowed by the size, but damn it, this guy knows how to play football. So that's kind of, I like Malik Washington from that aspect.
That's a good call. I'm going to have to watch more Malik Washington now. That's a good one. Joel, I kind of hinted at it earlier, and Joel Ybarra, who's my assistant editor at Player Profiler, the running back from Marshall, Rasheen Ali, feels like very similar to what you're talking about. Is just a guy who gets the job done. You know, he honestly reminded me, like if I had to give him a comp, reminded me of David Montgomery when I watched David Montgomery at Iowa State. And I'm excited. Like I want to dig more in on Rasheen Ali. I've got him at RB 13 right now, just outside the top 12. But he's a guy. I mean, like I said, this running back class, somebody's RB 8 is another man's RB 15. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like all these running backs are so close and they're just different versions. They do different things well. And some of them are going to hit, and we're going to do our best to, decipher, decode what details you need to be paying attention to. And we've begun that process tonight, I think. But Rasheen Ali is a guy that I think people need to pay attention to. So I think he's like does some really nice things on tape, especially running in between the tackles, especially with his cuts and his vision. And so I think that's somebody people need to be looking out for as a sleeper. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. I think that's a good, we have more on the show sheet, but we're right at an hour. So Tyler, why don't you give me anything that you need to plug, anything that you've got going on? why don't you just tell the people where they can find you?
On Twitter at PPR Tyler. As far as like just other plugging stuff, write an article here and there. You know, I do like writing, so go check out an article if it gets posted to the main page or anything like that. So, and I'll be writing some franchise tag stuff. When the franchise tag, I'm going to give my thoughts on it, just quick, you know, a couple paragraphs, fantasy implications. Really excited for the franchise tag. T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, some names being thrown around, maybe even Mike Evans franchise tag. I think the tag for receivers this year is like 20 million or something like that. So big number if you're going to want to franchise tag a receiver. But on that, just find me in an Underdog draft room. Just got my red badge today on Underdog. So that was a monumental moment for me and my my drafting career. But yeah, PPR Tyler on Twitter. I'm post a lot of memes, a lot of fun little draft stuff of mostly running backs, to be honest. So if you like running back draft content, especially, give me a follow on Twitter.
Excellent. And go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the channel, because you're going to want to be tapped into Player Profiler I don't even want to say off season, because there's no off season in Dynasty.
There's no off season. No.
There's no trade deadlines in our Dynasty Roundtable League. There shouldn't be any trade. Like, it should just the whole year, 365 days a year is Dynasty season. So we are here for you. So subscribe to the channel. You can find me on Twitter at Seth_DIEWOLD. You can follow me on YouTube, same first and last name. And you can go check out the work of writers like Tyler, Matt Babich, Joel Ybarra, Theo Greminger, John Lobb was added to the team, Dan Williamson. The list goes on, Aditya Foldiore. The list goes on and on and on of the talented writers that we have here at Player Profiler. And for my money, and I say this a lot, there is no better free content in the fantasy football space than you can get on playerprofiler.com, whether it's the player pages, whether it's the articles, whether it's the tools that are available to you free of charge. Some of them, like there's this ADP tool right now. There's player bios that you can check out. All of it's free. Now, we'd love you to subscribe to a paid service if you like, and those are incredible as well. But there is nothing beats Player Profiler's free services. So go check that out today. And Tyler, what do we always say to end the show?
Are we going with the new one or the old one?
I'm still going with both. I'm still doing both. Do you have like a catchphrase? Like, do you want to? Have you thought about this?
You're putting me on the spot here. I don't have a coin catchphrase yet. I don't think. No.
Okay. Well, think about it for the next time.
Can I say yours though? Can I say yours?
You may say that. You may say the precious words.
Nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.